Hey everyone, glad you could join me today. Here's something you might not realize. President Trump's second term is still in its early days, but the direction of his entire economic agenda could be on the line right now. We're talking tariffs, court battles, jobs, and even what you're paying at the checkout counter. And here's the kicker: the Supreme Court just agreed to fast-track a case that could determine whether Trump's tariff plan is even legal. If the justices rule against him, experts warn the government could owe back nearly $1 trillion in tariff refunds. That's not just politics, it's money straight out of your pocket. So today, we're going to break down what's happening, why it matters, and how it connects to your daily life. But first, let me ask you this. Have you ever felt a government decision immediately hit your budget, whether it's food prices, rent, or your retirement savings? Drop your thoughts in the comments. It really helps others see they're not going through it alone. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to keep up with stories like this that impact your wallet and your future. Alright, let's start with the Supreme Court, because that's really at the center of this. Trump has been using the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, a Cold War law meant for emergencies. Back in April, he declared what he called Liberation Day and slapped a universal 10% tariff on all imports, higher still for countries like China, Mexico, and Canada. His argument: this protects US industries and raises revenue to cut the federal deficit. Critics say the law doesn't actually give him that much power. Lower courts already sided with challengers, ruling that it hands the president what amounts to unlimited taxing authority without Congress. Now it's in front of the Supreme Court. If the court says no, the tariff program collapses, and the government might even have to return billions already collected. The fallout for both businesses and Washington would be massive. Meanwhile, the economy itself isn't looking steady. August added just 22,000 jobs, far below expectations. Manufacturing alone has shed more than 78,000 jobs this year, which hits especially hard given it's supposed to be the cornerstone of Trump's economic push. And young people, particularly recent grads, are finding it tough to land work. For the first time since 2021, unemployed workers outnumber job openings. On top of that, federal workforce cuts are underway. The Department of Government Efficiency, called DOGE, has been slashing agency jobs. Because so many government workers come from minority communities, those layoffs are hitting some groups harder, which cuts Medicaid eligibility, shifts costs to states, and tightens food aid with work requirements. The administration defends all this by looking at the long game. Their budget office says these policies could slash the federal deficit in half over the next decade, from a projected $31 trillion down to about $15 trillion. How? Through the One Big Beautiful Bill and limits on student loan forgiveness. They're also counting on tariff revenue, which is already at $136 billion this year, double last year's. Over the next 10 years, they expect $5 trillion. To them, this isn't just legal, it's a must. Markets and households are singing a different tune. The S&P 500 took a dip when the tariffs hit, bounced back a bit, but hasn't really taken off. The dollar's weaker, bond yields are down, and inflation is sneaking up. Core prices are up to 0.7% year over year, the biggest jump since 2021. With tariffs around 10%, everyday stuff like clothes and appliances is costing more than we thought. Instead of prices dropping post-pandemic, tariffs flipped the script. Trump has also been pressing the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates. But here's the problem. Lower rates while inflation is rising could make things worse. Former Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen even compared it to situations in Turkey and Argentina, where central banks lost independence and inflation spun out of control. Her warning was blunt: Americans need to take that risk seriously. Meanwhile, legal opposition is growing louder. Advocacy groups like Democracy Forward have filed more than 100 lawsuits against Trump's policies this term, everything from frozen federal grants to secret funding deals with foreign governments. They argue this fight isn't only about tariffs, but about how much unchecked authority the president really has. And they've already notched a few legal wins. So what does all this mean for you? Well, it depends on what happens in the next few months. If the Supreme Court upholds Trump's authority, the tariffs stay in place, and you'll probably keep feeling the pinch at the store. If they strike it down, prices could ease and refunds might flow back. But businesses that adapted to the tariffs will face new uncertainty. Either way, the job market and inflation aren't turning around overnight. These decisions affect your paycheck, your grocery bill, and your financial security. And beyond the numbers, confidence itself matters. When people feel uncertain, they spend less, companies pull back, and the economy slows even more. Polls show most Americans aren't happy with how the economy is being managed. Independents in particular are souring, and even some Republicans are uneasy about rising costs. The administration is asking for patience, insisting that results will look different a year from now. But patience is hard when bills are due today. So here's the big question I want to leave you with. Do you think this strategy is setting the stage for long-term success? Or is it doing more harm than good right now? There's no trick in that question. It's something people across the country are actively debating. And your perspective matters. Share your thoughts below. Your story might really help someone else who's struggling. And if you found this breakdown useful, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss future updates. The months ahead will be pivotal, shaping not just headlines, but your everyday life. Thanks for spending time with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.